The sprint is one of the 5 events in the Scrum framework. It is a container for the 4 other formal inspect and adapt events, which are the daily Scrum, the sprint planning, the sprint review, and the sprint retrospective. As the Scrum Guide so eloquently puts it, the sprint is the heartbeat of Scrum, where ideas are turned into value. Because it is a container event, it is very easy to forget how important it is in its own right. It creates a cadence in the form of its fixed length of 1 calendar month or less, but also it creates focus by aiming for 1 sprint goal per sprint. A sprint could even be considered to be a mini project. Because a sprint creates focus, it helps to improve predictability by ensuring the empirical feedback loop is exercised at least every calendar month. This is really important because frequent inspection and adaptation ensures we monitor our progress towards the product goal consistently and minimises deviations from the goal as much as possible. If your sprint is too long, there is less inspection and adaptation taking place, which will consequently increase the risk. Getting the length of your sprint right can be very challenging. Whilst it is desirable to complete a significant volume of work every sprint, and therefore psychologically the tendency is to extend it and use a longer sprint length, sometimes the market and domain necessitates a shorter sprint because it limits the risk of lost capital. At the end of the day, if your sprint is 1 week long, the maximum amount of investment you could have wasted is 1 sprint's worth. The longer your sprint is, the horizon you are aiming for in the form of the sprint goal is further away, which increases the uncertainty and complexity the Scrum team faces. There are a few things that can happen during every sprint which we will review now. Firstly, nobody makes any changes to the sprint that would endanger the single focus of value, the sprint goal. The sprint goal is the commitment made by the Scrum team both internally to themselves but also externally to the stakeholders and the market. As we mentioned during the topic on the increment, quality in the form of the definition of done does not decrease during a sprint. This is vital to supporting empiricism. If the quality controls frequently change, specifically decrease during a sprint, the stability and supportability of your product will decrease over time, making it harder and harder to deliver value in future. Also, during the sprint, product backlog refinement occurs. The Scrum team collaborate to make the product backlog more transparent. When I say the product backlog is refined during the sprint, I mean the Scrum team improve the visibility, accessibility, and importantly, understanding of future work. And finally, during the sprint, we exercise empiricism throughout the sprint, and therefore the sprint backlog may be clarified and negotiated with the product owner to ensure that the sprint is always focused on delivering value. Now that we've discussed the container event, the sprint, I would invite you to explore the 4 formal inspect and adapt opportunities in the form of the daily Scrum, the sprint planning, the sprint review, and the sprint retrospective in the upcoming videos. These events bring empiricism to life and form the backbone of the Scrum framework.